people. But on the serious point, the whole World Cup, arrest-wise, has been pretty good.
Well, exactly. There's been very little sign of trouble, has there?
Yeah.
Which is good going. As far as Paris Hilton's concerned, I mean, this headline is a little unfair, seeing as there've been no charges brought.
Well, no charges. Originally,
there's been a misunderstanding.
They thought at first she was being arrested for impersonating a celebrity, but she was cleared of that as well. But no, these have been dropped. She has gone, and a friend instead is taking a bit of a rap on this one. But no, it just goes to show, don't mess with the South African police.
They mean trouble. Let's move on to The Guardian, shall we? A slightly more serious story here, with their lead saying that the Tories and Labour are trying to disrupt this voting reform bill, which is the Lib Dems' big prize from this coalition.
This is what Nick Clegg wants. This is what he's going to be working on until May the 5th next year. Well, he hopes it's May the 5th when this referendum is. It's the day of the local elections in England and Scotland. So he wants the biggest possible turnout, so he gets the biggest possible, well, in his mind, yes vote. Now, the Tory backbenchers, the 1922 committee, they want to disrupt it. Bernard Jenkin, he speaks for them. He's talking about how they want a 40% over a yes vote of 40%, which is apparently the rules brought in for a Scottish devolution referendum in 1979. So that raises the bar a little. Jack Straw, he says he'll support the idea of going with a referendum, but he's not happy with the date of it. So it looks as though the big boys are starting to try and push around the Lib Dems a little bit on this one, and it could rumble on a little bit more, this.
Well, that's right, and it's fascinating, this, isn't it, that you've got this unusual situation for us, having a coalition government, and you've got the two parties already admitting that they're going to campaign in a different direction, and it's starting already.
Well, it's interesting as well that the guy who seems to be holding the strings is Nick Clegg, in charge of the smallest party as well, and he's got the most to gain, while the other two have got a lot to lose. Also, you know, it involves redrawing boundaries if this alternative vote system comes in, which would affect the Labour vote as well, and then lose a lot of seats. So there's a lot of people with a lot to lose here, and I think there's going to be a lot more pushing around to come.
Well, yes, and just really interesting what kind of strains that puts on the government and that coalition. We're back to Murray. Look at that picture in the Daily Express. You couldn't look more dejected,
Doesn't he look unhappy? But everyone's blaming it on David Beckham, who's also
well, it is his fault, obviously.
Dejected as well. He's a big old Jonah these days, apparently, and now we've given him the World Cup 2018 as well to try and win. What's going to happen there? Is he going to be in charge of the 2012 British Olympic team as well? Don't give him that. But he turns up and he ruins it for everyone. That's what everyone's saying. Don't let him turn up at the Open, is what the Telegraph is saying as well. He's been banned from the Open events. Well, poor old Andy Murray, he did try his hardest, but he did look a little bit easy for Nadal yesterday. But he does.
Do you think? I thought it was so close.
Did you think that? What,
yes.
3-0?
Well, yeah, but he could have won that second set so easily. He had set point. It was very
He's looking
close.
like one of life's runners-up at the moment, but you never know. He's only 23. And it's funny how he has changed in all the other papers, in the Mirror and the Sun particularly. He's now Scottish again. He's 100% Scottish. He was nearly 100% British yesterday morning. Now he's Scottish again, and he's been kicked into the long grass. Kicked
into the long grass along with David Beckham, clearly. OK, let's have a look at the inside pages of the Daily Mail, and lots of little babies, not Komodo dragon babies we've been talking about earlier.
Lovely story. The caesarean birth earlier in the year, I think of May the 14th, Vicky and Andy Lamb, they're from Oxfordshire. They had sextuplets. One unfortunately died, Matthew. He died early on. But the first pictures of the other 5, and they're all doing quite well. It's to be expected. There's a few problems there. They were born early, and it's just a lovely piece talking to the parents. Again, they're talking about the grief about Matthew, but they're talking about the other 5 kids. The firstborn, Layla, how she's so laid back, and Eric Andrew, who's obviously a mother's boy. He's the only boy out of them all left, so he's obviously going to get mollycoddled all his life by what the mother says as well, because they've lost one son. But it's just a lovely, lovely piece, and the emotion in it.
And are they still in hospital?
They are still in hospital at the moment, at the John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford, in the special baby care unit.
God, imagine taking them home for the first time. I mean, how do you fit all in the car for a start? You'd have to have your other half running along behind, wouldn't you?
Well, mother care may come in with some sort of help there, you never know.
Yeah, huge prospect though, bringing up 5 babies at the same time.
And remember the Walton sextuplets, their whole life was just about the fact that they had all these kids, but yeah, it will dominate their lives. But it's great that the 5 are doing really well.
Absolutely, and good luck to them. Inside the Daily Star now, what's this story about? Cops waste 100k on changing shirts.
Yes, this is the West Midlands Police. They've found white shirts slightly restrictive. They didn't,
white shirts?
I don't think they could, the white shirts under their stab vests or whatever, they're in their uniforms. I thought they looked quite smart, but no, they found them restrictive. I don't know if they wanted to dance on duty or something like that. However, they've now managed to change the policy there. They've spent £100,000 on these zip-up blue and black shirt things that make them look like Tour de France cyclists instead.
Will we see them all now cartwheeling down the street, do you think?
Well,
they're liberated decorated.
They have now got room to boogie, it seems, in these new shirts. And there's a picture there of a woman, a police officer, wearing it. She's looking very pleased with herself to be wearing these new
She looks
shirts.
embarrassed, let's be honest.
She's not exactly embracing the camera. But the chief superintendent, he's defending the move. He's saying that, no, we listened to our staff and this is what they wanted. The Taxpayers Alliance, funnily enough, think it's a total waste of money.
It's fair enough though, Charlotte. You've got to be comfy at work, haven't you?
I
So
guess
someone
so.
who has to wear high heels at work.
And they do a lot of moving around, don't they? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's quite a physical job.
It's a short sleeve shirt. How uncomfortable is that?
If you've got to arrest someone and they get away because you can't move your arms,
yeah.
it's no good, is it? And finally, let's take a look at the Daily Mail. And, it's Christine Bleakley.
Yes, it's a traditional stitch-up job from the Daily Mail. They're all about people getting on in life. However, when the people do get on in life, like Christine Bleakley seems to be doing at the moment, they have a right good go at her. They've come out with 10 shameless steps to stardom, which appear to have been, 1, be born, 2, get on television, and then go onwards until someone gives you £6 million. So I feel a bit sorry for Christine Bleakley this morning. Not too much, because she's having a lovely holiday there with Frank Lampard. Not that I want to go on holiday with Frank Lampard, but she seems to be enjoying herself.
You can start all sorts of rumours.
Well, they never know. But no,
You'd have a lovely time together.
she's getting a good old kick in, and it's slightly undeserved for someone. Oh, she's been on the telly and quite pretty.
It won't change anyone's minds, though. Everyone loves Christine Bleakley.
They do, but it's the cycle of how papers work, though, isn't it? They build people up and then they knock them down, and then it all
This is a
happens
particular
again.
Mail thing where they like to, on a Saturday, just leave over 2 pages to have a good old kick, particularly a successful woman. Watch out, you two.
Or was it an excuse just to put loads of photos
I'll
of
be
her in a
fine.
bikini on
Well,
the
that
papers?
does help, doesn't it? It does
Yes,
help,
and
yeah.
she looks pretty good in it as well. Michael, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed for coming in this morning. Now then, the Charity
Sky
Foundation
News.
has been... Let's bring you up to date with the rest of the main news now. Here's Charlotte.
Thanks, Anna. A married couple suspected of spying on America have admitted they are Russian citizens. Prosecutors in New York say Michael Zatoli and Patricia Mills confessed after they were arrested, along with 9 other suspects. 3 of the group have been told they'll stay in jail after waiving their right to a detention hearing. Greg Milam has the details.
They lived their lives as American.
An unknown British actor has been unveiled, or more accurately, should I say, unmasked, as the new Spider-Man. Homespun hero Andrew Garfield will take over the role from Tobey Maguire for the 4th instalment of the series. Garfield, who won a BAFTA in 2008 for his role in the TV drama Boy A, has been described as a perfect choice for the role by the film's producer.
I was just looking him up because I didn't know who he was, and I found out that the film's director is called Mark Webb.
Oh, really?
Quite appropriate for Spider-Man, isn't it?
Isn't it? Well, we
Isn't
look
that
forward
good?
to seeing that one. It's nice that it's a British actor as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for him. Thanks, Charlotte. And now let's take a look at what's on the front pages. Good morning. You're watching Sunrise. Anna Jones here with you live through until 10. Still to come, we've got a review of the morning newspapers with Shortlist magazine editor Terry White. See you very shortly.
Good morning.
First, though, let's get you up to date with our top story here this
Lewis,
morning.
Sky
A
News.
5th person. Now then, let's catch up with the rest of the day's news now. Here's Charlotte.
Thanks, Anna. A married couple suspected of spying on America have admitted they're Russian citizens. Prosecutors in New York say Michael Zatoli and Patricia Mills confessed.
Yes, well done to him. He pops up in the papers, actually. We're going to go through the papers now with Terry White, who's editor of Shortlist magazine. Welcome to you. Let's start with the painful news about Andy Murray
Yes.
and the way it's been treated on the front of the Daily Mirror, which is quite entertaining.
It's hilarious. I mean, poor Andy Murray, we did our classic thing of claiming him as one of our own because we hoped he was going to bring us the only sporting success this summer. Unfortunately, as soon as he lost, we then distanced ourselves from him massively. The Daily Mirror probably handled it in the most funny of ways. So they did essentially what is a tongue-in-cheek retraction. So after calling him the Flower of England, unmasking his supposedly English roots recently, they're now saying, we're happy to withdraw the article. We can confirm that he is 100% Scottish. Basically, he's nothing to do with us. And it's a very humorous take. Some of the other papers weren't so kind to him. I think The Guardian said that he'd never been more Scottish yesterday. So immediately distancing themselves. But also, it's not just him who's being blamed. Some of the papers have done a brilliant The Curse of Beckham, who was present at Centre Court yesterday. I think somebody heckled actually during the match. It's all Beckham's fault. The poor man, I mean, he really can't do anything right, can he? He gets blamed for a 1998 World Cup was his fault. ruining masculinity by wearing a sarong, and now Andy Murray crashing out of Wimbledon is supposedly his fault as well.
Yes, but, you know, we can't feel too sorry for him. He's got an awful lot going for him as well, hasn't he? Even if he's banned from every sporting event from now on.
I know. I don't think he'll ever be able to show his face at any major tournament.
But this issue of Andy Murray's nationality, in some sense, he brings it on himself as well, doesn't he? He made that comment, didn't he, about whether or not he was going to support England at the football, and said anyone but England. And I suppose that does invite kind of jokes at the very least about whether or not he's Scottish or British.
And he moved, you know, he lives in Surrey now, which the papers also jumped on. I think the Sun called him Murray from Surrey. Again, it's some attempt to claim him. And I think he's tried to distance himself from that football comment since he made it, because he was obviously slightly worried that he was going to alienate everybody in England.
That's right. I'm very keen to say it was just a joke.
Absolutely.
And yet another picture of him looking absolutely devastated.
I
The paper's
know.
full of them, and he really shows it on his face. You can see the trauma he went through.
Yeah, almost
can't you?
in tears, almost in tears. Poor man.
Well, you can't blame him. Such a disappointment. Let's move into the Daily Express now, and here's that actor that Charlotte was just telling us about, who I hadn't heard of, Andrew Garfield, who's landed this great role.